1 minute to the show.
No, I didn't have time this week to get all the Trailblazers stuff on the show. But on next week I do, because I shot a lot of video, took a lot of pictures. But I've got some things coming up. Yeah. No, I talked to Scott Burnworth about that. There's no way I can go back down there for the Cheney Ranch race this weekend. I can't. No, just yeah, I'll be announcing that tonight. So, all right, and you don't have to worry about the random share giveaway. We'll announce that on the page tomorrow, on Thursday. Okay. I gotta go. Jordan's telling me something. All right.
You're live.
Let's get down to the starting line. I'll tell you about what you're going to see on tonight's show. In the next time try this segment, we've got a very interesting video on fork stops. In the Moto Showcase, we take a look at a 1980 Suzuki RM250. We've also got a Here's the Problem segment where I had to come up with a few things on my own tonight, and I'm going to talk to you about that, but it's pretty good. And in the What's It Worth segment, an IT Yamaha 465, said to be an extremely rare bike, aren't they all? We've got all that and a whole lot more coming up on Vintage Motocross Q&A. Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Abadi, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie, for helping me put the show together. Thank you, the viewers at home, who have joined us tonight. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, comment Motion Pro. And tomorrow on the page, Vintage Motocross Q&A, we will announce who the winner is of this beautiful sticker sheet, compliments of Vintco. So remember, keep sharing the show. Our YouTube channel is going really, really well. We've got a lot of viewers there and a lot of people leaving a lot of comments. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel yet, please do so. Go over it, sign up. You'll get a little alert just like this. Tells you when we're live on YouTube. It's a great way to watch the show as well when we're doing the show live on Wednesdays. You can see all the previous shows, but on Wednesday, you can watch it like a pro from your big screen TV. Watch it from your big screen TV as you comment from your phone. It's a great way to enjoy every episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A. So sign up for the YouTube channel. Tell some of your friends about it too. Thank you, Motion Pro, Vintco, Racer X, Preston Petty Products, Full Circle Racing, Bill's Pipes, Sunrise Vapor Blasting, and Northwest Mako CZ for all your support. On tonight's Next Time Try This segment, I want to talk to you about a section of the frame of your motorcycle that takes a whole lot more of abuse than you can actually imagine. What section am I talking about? Right here, the fork stop. Now, I'm showing it to you on a 1974 Honda CR250, but it doesn't matter whether it's a Mako, Yamaha, Suzuki, or Bultaco. No matter what off-road bike you might have, those triple clamps have to have an area to stop someplace. There's usually two stubs that stick up on the triple clamp. They have to hit something. They usually hit something on this section of the frame. So whether you're buying a bike, selling it, restoring, or rebuilding it, you want to check this section of your frame to make sure it's in good condition. If it's not, you're going to want to address it. A lot of times on your Elsinore tanks, you'll find dents like this and far, far bigger ones than that, as I've seen before, and that's what usually causes it. The fork stop gives way. That section of the frame The fork spins around, does damage to the gas tank. Let's take a look at some other frames right now, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The first one we're going to look at is one that is in great condition. This is a 1974 Honda CR250, and when you look at it, you can see how nice and square the sides are on that stop. And when the triple clamp would come around to hit it, it would hit it nice and squarely, and there would be no chance of the forks getting damaged or the tank getting damaged by the forks once it stops. That's the way it should look. Now, the second one, or number two, if you take a look at it, it doesn't look too bad, but as you can see, it isn't as square as the first one. You can see where the triple clamp is probably swung around numerous times and caused some damage here and some damage on this side to where the forks will not stop exactly where they should be. Probably not going to cause any damage to the gas tank from the fork, but you can see where it's starting to give way a little bit. Could be a problem somewhere down the road. Number three. This one is really gruesome. As you could see, it's been neglected over a period of time. I'm sure the forks have swung around on this bike and destroyed the tank on both sides, and you could see exactly where this thing would now have to be cut off, certainly be replaced. It's unlikely it could be bent back or heated up. You'd probably want to cut that right off and replace it and make it look like the first one. That's it for tonight's Next Time Try This segment. So take a look at your frame. Make sure it's straight up in that area, right by that head stay. Everything is stable. Everything looks square. Has it been repaired before? Do you need to repair it again? Before you powder coat or paint your frame, take a look at that next time real close. So next time, try that.
This week's Minto special are gaskets for 1976 and 1977 and 1978 RM 400 or 370, just $42.95, guaranteed to be as good or better than OEM. Get over to Vinco. Got a lot of stuff. Thanks, Vinco. In the Moto Showcase tonight, we take a look at a 1980 Suzuki RM250. It was sent in to us by Jeff Kokoski, a big supporter of the show. Jeff, I want to thank you for sending that in. And you and your buddy Ron are always sending in something, and I want to thank you guys very much. But this is an interesting bike that Jeff sent in. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it while Jordan goes through the slides. Jordan, here we go. Right before Christmas last year, my buddy Ron and I purchased this 1980 RM250 that he found on the Facebook Marketplace. The bike started, and it seemed to run okay, but as you can see from the before pictures, it was in need of some TLC. Besides the bulbous aftermarket Clark tank and the faded mismatched plastic, the bike was also missing an airbox, which turned out to be a really big deal to locate one to replace it. We enjoy doing rebuild work. We just don't want to stare at our bikes after we get them done. But we did check the cylinder bore, and we found out it to be in spec, and it just only needed to be honed. The clutch plates were also checked, and they were acceptable with remaining wear on the fiber plates. There was no warpage on the steel plates, so the bottom of the engine remained intact and was in the frame. Here's a list of some of the other things that we did do on the bike, though. A complete Wiseco kit was installed, a piston kit, including the bearing and wrist pin. The forks were disassembled. They were flushed and cleaned. They were reassembled with all balls, racing seals, and wipers, and maximum fork oil. Both fenders and side panels and front number plates were replaced with plastic from VMX. The rear shocks were not overhauled, but they were purged of the old oil, then filled. They were filled with fresh oil and then vented. The springs and shock bodies were cleaned, sanded, and painted. Ron was able to find an OEM tank on eBay that he polished up nicely, and we added that along with some new perforated tank stickers. He installed new Pro Taper handlebars along with the grips and levers. At some point, someone added a straight pull throttle assembly that appeared to be from a Yamaha YZ. It worked perfectly, just needed a little white grease to lubricate it, and everything just worked out fine. The original seat was in great condition, but we did replace the cover. Both front and rear brakes and the wheel bearings were all in good shape. The front wheel looked like brand new, and we think that someone had replaced it at some point. The back rim was not so nice. Many of the spokes were bent, and the nipples were gold. So Ron changed all those, and we used new Buchanan spokes. Chains and sprockets on the bike were fairly nice, so we cleaned all that up. But we did put a new chain on it. We welded on some wider foot pegs. The bike was a little loud when we first started it up, so we added a new FMF spark arrestor. We put a Michelin Star Cross tire in the front, a Shinko 525 on the rear. The bike was missing the airbox, as I mentioned earlier, but we did source one, and it became especially problematic. Ron found an OEM one on eBay for a decent price. It was missing the cage, so we fabricated one ourselves, and we added a new filter. We also had the 36 millimeter Mikuni left over from one of our other builds. Ron rebuilt that. We put it on the bike. It runs absolutely perfect now. The bike actually rips. Joe, I want to thank you for showing our bike and all of our questions each week on Vintage Motocross Q&A. We really enjoyed the show. Regards from Ron and I. Well, Jeff, thank you. Thank you for sharing the show, for sending in bikes and sending in questions. And I think you've been a winner a few times before of a Preston Petty coffee mug and some other things. But if you want some stickers from Vintco or another Preston Petty mug, just let me know, Jeff, and I'll be happy to send you something out. Thanks again. Preston Petty, still looking for dealers. So if you have a retail outlet or you have a way that you reach end user customers, get a hold of Paul Standard at Preston Petty Products, and he will make you a dealer and you will live happily ever after. This week's special at Preston Petty, front and rear mutter and 3 plates, just $124.95. I'm showing them here in yellow, but they do come in other colors as well. Just $124.95 this week at Preston Petty Products. In our Here's the Problem segment tonight, I wanted to say something here to you guys who are watching the show. You know, when you send in questions, my favorite part of the show, send them in a week or so ahead of time. We get to do a little research. We come up with some pictures, or we talk to some other people who are experts in certain fields, and they give us a lot of input here, and we get to answer your questions. The past week or so, I haven't gotten any questions, but I kind of combined a few things that I thought would be interesting for this week. So the first one I want to talk to you about is, and I get this question sometimes not only for the show, but I'll get a question like this where people just will send me a text message or drop me an email during the week. And what they want to know is when they're attaching, sometimes airboxes crack, like on a 79 Honda CR250. And people will make a plate that goes around there out of aluminum. Or guys with certain other bikes will want to add a pod filter that goes inside of an airbox. And there's a big rubber flange that goes on the outside. And a lot of times they want to know, what is the best thing to use to seal that? And what I found is this 3M product right here. This 3M sealant is really great. It's used for putting on weather stripping on cars. It is very resilient. It's gas proof. It's perfect for when you're putting like rubber on plastic or trying to seal something around an airbox with some door edge guard or something like that. Anything made of rubber where you want to keep dust out of your airbox, this 3M product is about the best thing that I've ever used. So you want to keep an eye out for that when you're trying to make some modification on an airbox or trying to seal up that airbox on your bike. Next thing up, we have a question that comes up quite often is, what can I use when I don't have the right gasket, can't get the right gasket, or there absolutely is no gasket when my exhaust flange fits into my cylinder? First thing you want to do is make sure that that exhaust flange and that cylinder is really clean. So take it off the bike, and whether you vapor blast it or bead blast it, whatever you have to do to get all the carbon off of it, get it all off there, and then you want to use something like this, but you want to make sure it's high temp silicone gasket maker like this. And you might want to give it an hour or so to set up. It can be used the same day. If you could let it dry overnight, that's even better. But you want to use it on both sides. Make sure you get your flange inside that cylinder really nice and tight to where it's supposed to be. Get a good bead around there. Put your bolts in, and then you can also use it inside your pipe too before you put your pipe on the outside of the flange, and then use your springs to hold it on there. But make sure, the most important thing is that you've got all the carbon, oil, grease, anything that's in there, make sure you have it cleaned out before you use that. So get that high temp silicone gasket maker. Try that next time.
I'm Brock Glover, and you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jeff at Motion Pro, showing you our Bead Pro combination tire tools today. Now these are a very innovative tire tool in that they are multifunctional. They both are great for breaking the bead of your tire as well as spooning the tire on and off the rim. Now we have two versions. The first is the standard Bead Pro. These are forged 7075 T6 aluminum in construction, very lightweight for tool pack use. And then we have the Bead Pro FS, the FS standing for Forged Steel Construction. Now, these are great for shop use. They are a little bit longer, so you have more leverage. They're 16 inches long versus 9.8 inches long for the standard versions. Now, the geometry of the tools are about the same between the standard and the FS versions, but as I mentioned, the materials are different and the lengths vary a bit. Now, they have a nice ergonomic feel in your hand, and this cross T feature keeps your hand from slipping as you insert the tool into the bead of the tire. And on the one end, you have this innovative tongue and groove feature, which leverage the tire off of the rim. It easily breaks the bead on both off-road wheels and tires, as well as street applications, even those with large safety beads. Now, the opposite end have this nice, smooth spoon profile, which easily brings that tire up and over the rim to bring it off and then spoon it back on. These are affordably priced, so go ahead and pick one up for your tool pack as well as for your shop use. They're available from your favorite powersports dealer nationwide.
In the What's It Worth segment tonight, we're going to take a look at a 1978 Yamaha IT465. Now, I sent this into Jordan when we made this slide up, and it's actually a IT465. It is not an IT400. And in just a second, oh, here it is. I kind of lost my copy on this. It is an IT465, okay? And this is the segment of the show where, of course, I encourage you to put in what you think this bike recently sold for. And it was sold on January 10th, 2022. It was sold in Southern California. And we want you to estimate what you think this bike recently sold for. It's kind of an interesting story that goes along with this. And you know what? While I'm thinking about it, I think I owe Chuck Mackey some stickers from last week, because we did a What's It Worth, and I said, if you guess and you don't go over, I'm going to send you some stickers, and I don't think I got those out yet. So whoever it is, and I think it's Chuck, contact me and I will get your stickers. Now, enough about that. Let's get on to the IT465. Jordan will go through the slides, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what the description says here. One of the cleanest, if not the cleanest, Yamaha IT465s, and it is up for sale. The bike starts right up. The carbs were cleaned, but the paint is flawless. The fenders are flawless. The lights works. Everything does work as it should, with no dents or marks in the exhaust pipe. There's nothing damaged about the bike, and I would say the bike is a 9.5 out of a 10. Don't miss your choice to own this piece of Yamaha's history. The Enduro Do Sport comes with a clean California title. And this is where it gets kind of interesting. The seller says this is a rare opportunity, as the IT465 model did not hit the public until 1981 for mass production. Some of you might think that I messed up on the year and the starting that in this description where I said it was in 1978, but this is not a typo. This bike is essentially a concept or dealership test model from 1978. The 465 motor was not out to the public yet, nor was the aluminum swing arm and the big CC on the big CC Yamaha. I have an IT 1980 425 as well, and it has a steel swing arm on it. So I hope that clears up some confusion to some of the people that may have asked some of the questions about this bike. Again, this is a very unique opportunity to own a very rare bike. It's only one built in 1978. What do you think this bike recently sold for? And I can't confirm or deny what this guy says about, I mean, it's all very, very possible. But it did look like a nice bike. How much do you think it sold for? $4,000? $5,000. This bike sold for $2,950. And it did look like an exceptionally nice bike in the pictures. Whether or not it's a concept bike or not, I really don't know. But he did say he has the title with it as well. Sold for $2,950. Looked like a real nice piece. So who got closest without going over? Let me know. Full Circle Racing. I love what Tom McAllister does for us here on the show, and so many other people who have used Tom McAllister's services because they have seen it here on Vintage Motocross Q&A. And Tom is still running a great special. He will Bead blast and powder coat your hubs for just $50 a piece, either in gloss black or satin. He will also do the brake plate for just $10 more. For just a one-time fee of $20, he'll make those brake plates and hubs any color you like. He'll also replace the bearings in there if you like. Tom has got it all going on up there, from spokes, nipples, and the service that he performs on your hubs, whether it's for off-road, on-road, adventure bikes, whatever it may be. Get a hold of Tom McAllister at Full Circle Racing. Did you know? This is a little segment of the show where I tell you a little something that you may not know that's particularly interesting in motorcycling, and I probably don't know either. That's how I came up with it. So tonight I've got something a little bit different. As you can remember, throughout many, many of the years, Champion Spark Plug was always a sponsor of a lot of the races. And I remember seeing their stickers on a lot of bikes, especially for Roger DeCoster, Joe Robert, Pierre Karsmarkers, and so many more. You'd see their banners at the tracks. But I found an interesting story that went along with Champion Spark Plugs, and I didn't know. Well, here. Let me tell you what's going on. Albert Champion Company. Yep, there was actually a man named Champion. Was founded by Albert Champion in June of 1905 in Boston's South End at the landmark Cycle-Rama building. He was there to import electrical parts from the French. Champion presided as president of the Albert Champion Company with partners Frank Stranahan and his treasurer younger brother, Spencer Stranahan, who was the clerk. Now, by 1907, the Albert Champion Company was manufacturing porcelain spark plugs with the name Champion stamped on the side. Robert Stranahan was the youngest of the Stranahan brothers, finished his classes at Harvard, and he was at the head of his class in 1908. He went to work for that Champion Company. Champion was not happy about this because he had no control over his own work. And in 1908, he went to see a man named William Durant. He went to see him at the Buick Motor Company in Detroit with some of his prototypes of the spark plugs. Buick at that time was using Raja spark plugs. Durant thought he could manufacture spark plugs to Champion's design for a cheaper price than he was buying the present plugs from Raja. And he set up Champion in a workshop in Flint, Michigan. Champion went to work producing spark plugs that he used in Buick automobiles. Champion and Durant formed another company with Champion's name, Champion Ignition Company. That was very short-lived, and the Stranahan brothers had informed Champion at that time that they had trademarked the name Champion Spark Plugs, and he could not use it anymore. They went on to create another company, Durant from Buick and Albert Champion. They later started a second company, and it was called AC Spark Plug, and it reflected the name Albert Champion's initial. So now you know a little bit more about Champion spark plugs and AC spark plugs, which I did not know meant Albert Champion. And I heard through the grapevine a while ago that while Champion was a sponsor of a lot of races and a lot of racers and riders, that not a lot of those bikes actually ran Champion spark plugs. But you didn't hear that from me. Anyway, now you know about Champion spark plugs. And now you want to know about Mark Farriester and Sunrise Vapor Blasting. I'll tell you, this guy's turnaround time is faster than an In-N-Out burger. You can't believe it. And so many people are sending me messages and sending me texts about Mark Farriester and Sunrise Vapor Blasting, what a great job he does, and how quickly he gets a turnaround for an absolutely phenomenal price. So get a hold of Mark Farriester. He is in Modesto, California, but through mail and amazing technology like that, you send a box out to Mark Farriester, Sunrise Vapor Blasting. He gets it in and out in one day, and his prices are absolutely excellent. I've been hearing nothing but good news about Mark Farriester and Sunrise Vapor Blasting, so if it floats, flies, or rolls, get a hold of Mark. Have him clean it up, and he'll get it back to you real quick. Thanks, Mark. We are going to take a commercial break. Don't forget to keep sharing the show, and tomorrow on the Vintage Motocross Q&A page, we will announce who the winner was of this beautiful sticker sheet, compliments of Vintco. We'll be right back.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vinco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vinco. Keep the ride going.
This Week in Motocross History is brought to you by Racer X Magazine, available on your newsstand now and also available online. Be sure to check out our ad in the back of every issue of Racer X Magazine. 1980, Harry Everts and Brian Myerscough. Suzuki Harry Everts won the opening round of the 1980 FIM 125cc World Championship in Norge, Holland, over Dutch rider Dylan Zylstra and Mark Velkeniers. In the U.S., Team Suzuki Brian Myerscough won the Saddleback 125 National over his teammate Mark Barnett, Yamaha's Brock Glover, and Team Kawasaki's Jeff Ward. All three are AMA Future Hall of Famers. Let's get on to 1981. 1981, Team Suzuki's Ken Howerton won the first outdoor battle of 1981 with Yamaha's Bob Hanna as the two went at it at the Hangtown Classic, the opening round of the 1981 AMA Pro Motocross Championship. Hanna was coming back from a broken leg that he had suffered in the 1979 season, costing him the entire season at the peak of his career. It's quite a battle that year between Ken Howerton and Bob Hanna. 1982, the AMA Pro Motocross Championship kicked off at a muddy Hangtown Classic, and Yamaha's 17-year-old rookie, Ricky Johnson, took the 250 class and the overall win, the first of what will be an AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame career. Riding a production-based YZ250, RJ top Suzuki riders Warren Reed and Yamaha-mounted Scott Burnworth. And that's what's happening in MX history this week. We do have some announcements. The announcements are brought to you by Bill's Pipes. Bill's Pipes are most easily to get a hold of on Facebook. Get a hold of them there. You can ask them questions. They have a phone number, and they take emails much easier than getting a hold of them any other way. Thank you, Bill Severa and Randy Scott at Bill's Pipes for helping us out here on the show. Great race coming up April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. I'm talking about the CZ World Championship. This happens in Marysville, California. It's a 3-day event. People come from around the world to compete at the CZ World Championship. You want to get up there. It's 2 days of racing. There's a bike show. If it's got to do with a CZ, you want to be there. I'm going to be there at least, well, I might be there all weekend, but at least Saturday for sure. Hope to see you there. I wanted to mention this on the show last week. I don't know if I had time because we had the Falta special on last week, but it has been announced that Can-Am will have their 50th reunion in Ontario, Canada, and that is coming in Canada, and that is coming up on August 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th in 2023. Yeah, it's a little over a year from now, but it is going to be an event like you've never seen before, and I've been speaking to John Lake about it, and anybody that had anything to do with Can-Am and its history, being it was the design of the bike, the racing of the bike in ISDT, in motocross, even some road racing and enduro things. Everything is going to be on display, and the people who all made it possible are going to be there for 4 days. There's going to be workshops. There's going to be raffles with bikes being given away. There's movies. There's all types of things going on. So put it on your calendar, August of 2023, and I will be your host for those 4 days. Thank you, John Lake, and everyone at Bombardier for asking me to be the host of that show. I'm really honored, and I'm looking forward to it. Verona Oaks Reunion. That's coming up Saturday, April 30th. Of course, Debbie and Scott Burnworth put that event on. So there's a little reunion there. There's racers, there's food, there's bench racing, there's all kinds of things going on. And then the next day, there is a race, the SoCal Vintage MX Classic at Verona. That's on May 1st. Be sure to see Scott and Debbie Burnworth. They do so much for the sport. I had a wonderful opportunity to spend some time with Scott and Debbie this weekend at the Trailblazers. It's always fun to see them, and I always appreciate all they do to help promote the sport of vintage motocross and always show the history of it. Thanks, Debbie and Scott. Speaking of Trailblazers, that was just this past weekend. It was an amazing event. I'll have some things for you on next week's show. We didn't get back till late yesterday, and I didn't really have time to put a lot together on what happened there at the Trailblazers, but it was a fabulous event. There had to be close to 700 people there. Don MD did such a great job being the MC. So many people were inducted into it, including a couple of close friends of mine, just to name a few. Selvaraj Narayana was inducted. He is the vice president of KTM North America. There's Sel, and my friend Donnie Hansen, who was also inducted this week in this year into the Trailblazers, as well as Sue Fish. There's a picture of Sue Fish and I. Always wonderful to see her. And, the nice thing about Sue Fish, Donnie Hansen, and Selvaraj, other than being inducted into the Trailblazers and just being wonderful people, I have interviews with all of them on Vintage Motocross Radio. If you ever get an opportunity and you want to go over there and hear an interview with them, you could do that. There were also another cast of characters there. Jeff Ward was there, Goat Brecker, Brock Glover, and I caught up with these two guys, Scott Burnworth and Chuck Sun. I love this outfit on Scott Burnworth. He had this hat on and this really authentic Yamaha sweater. Just so many people having such a great time in Carson this weekend at the Trailblazers. I hope next year everybody can make it. The Finish Line. Finish Line is brought to you by Northwest Mako CZ. Alan Brown is getting things up and running there. He was on a little sabbatical, had a little tragedy in his family. His mom passed away. Not really a special happening this week, but I can tell you one thing. I've got two tools that I keep in my shop that I have used recently. It's a CZ clutch tool and this clutch compression tool. You can't really change the clutch plates or do anything on your CZ without those two items. Alan Brown does have them available at Northwest Mako CZ, and they're not real expensive. Get a hold of Alan Brown at Northwest Mako CZ. T-shirts and hoodies are still available from Vintage Motocross Q&A. They come in white and gray. They have our logo across the front, my signature across the back. Get them while they're hot. You could still get hoodies as well for just a couple of bucks more. Follow the link in the show description. Vintage Motocross Q&A sponsorship opportunities are available. I have a new sponsor coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to telling you about it. He sent me a message, and then he contacted some of my sponsors to see if they were getting results. And they were very forthcoming with him and told him that they were. He's very, very excited about being a sponsor on the show. I'll tell you about it. It could be as early as next week. We're just hammering out a few details. So we're getting a new sponsor, and you can be a sponsor of the show too. Get a hold of me and I'll get you a sponsorship proposal package. I think that about wraps it up for tonight's episode of Vintage Motocross Q&A. Thank you, Jordan, Chelsea, and Susie, for helping me put the show together. Thank you, the viewers at home who keep sharing the show and keep supporting our sponsors as well. Susie could not be here in the studio with me tonight, but I think I can, let me see what I can do. Gino! Gino! I'm Joe Abadi. Thanks for watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. I got Gino here! Way to go, Gino. Thanks for watching the show. Don't forget to keep sharing it, and we'll see you next time. Good job, Gino.